I wear a disguise, I'm just your average Jane. The super doesn't stand for model, but that doesn't mean I'm plain. If all you see is how I look, you miss the super chick within. I'm not christening you Titanic, underestimate. I wear a disguise, I'm just your average Jane. This is myself, I've got the rifle, gonna be myself. I've got the rifle, gonna be myself. I've got the rifle, gonna be myself. And I'll be everything that I wanna be. I am confidence in insecurity. I am a voice yet waiting to be heard. I'll shoot the shot bang that you hear around the world. And I'm a one girl revolution. I'm a one girl revolution. I'm a one girl revolution. Some people see the revolution, but most only see the girl. I can lose my hard-earned freedom if my fear defines my world. I declare my independence from the critics and their stones. I can find my revolution, I can learn to stand alone. And I'll be everything that I wanna be. I am confidence in insecurity. I am a voice yet waiting to be heard. I'll shoot the shot bang that you hear around the world. And I'm a one girl revolution. I'm a one girl revolution. I'm a one girl revolution.
All right, welcome to In Other News. I am your host, Rachel Bloomstrom. Today I'm joined in the studio by Jeff Hawks and then via Zoom with Zachary Bird in Florida. Today we did postpone our main story, which we were going to be covering a carry-on of our male supremacy movement, The Enemy is Woman, and we were going to be talking about incels and pickup artists, but we will push that back to next week because obviously, as you know, the big news is Roe v. Wade has been passed. We saw it coming, and they just waited a little bit. They put a buffer in between of about 3 or 4 other rulings that let us know that, yeah, for sure they were going to pass it and it's going to be bad and it's only going to get worse. So now that we've got it rolling downhill, things are going to be real spooky. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Jeff Hawks. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. as things are going.
Yeah, just been talking trash with people on the internet.
I'm sober. But that will change, I think, later.
Oh, yeah, I definitely. Yes, for sure. I'm sorry. I forgot to bring the drink. Well, I left them in the car and now they're hot if you want to go get one.
Tempting. No.
They're carbonated too. I don't think you're going to like it.
Oh, yeah. Hot day. No.
Zach, how are you?
I am doing pretty good. Hot, sweaty, but okay, I'm saying my spirit's not completely dead, but it's getting there.
It's pretty cool. I mean, you live in Florida, so you've been like on a faster slide to death than we have.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, mostly like a lot of the regulations haven't touched you personally too much. So
no, but
it doesn't matter. Your neighbors, your friends, your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Florida, I think is one of those where it's undecided, but we know where it's going to go. Come on,
is it undecided?
It's decided. It's pretty solid in one direction.
Yeah, it's technically like it's still like because they keep showing a map and it keeps showing like they haven't banned abortion, but they're not okay with it either. Like it's for like Indiana's another one, which is right next to us. Wonderful.
Oh yes. Well, luckily we here in Illinois are going to be a sanctuary state according to Pritzker. Basically. So I actually used to host couch surfers. So if y'all know any women who are wanting to couch surf specifically to sanctuary states, I have a couch that is surfable, and yes, women are welcome.
And Dick's Sporting Goods might pay for the flight out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was seeing on Twitter. The CEO came out and released a message about paying for travel for people.
Oh, yeah, great. I know that there's this group I've been following on TikTok and sharing them as a group of pilots who've gotten together, and they are donating free hours and if they have a plane, so they'll fly people as well.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, they're just asking for donations for the gas money. So I'll be sure to share it. If you can get the link for that, we'll go ahead and put that in the YouTube doobly-doo so that people can find these links.
Isn't that kind of weird though? Because these are the kind of things we hear about. I mean, I'm glad Dick Sporting Good is helping out in these pilots, but this is stuff you usually see people coming together to help like third world countries. This is to help American citizens. That's what's so messed up about it. Like, we need to give sanctuary to American citizens from what tyranny? Other states. Like, literally, that's where we're at right now.
Well,
Does not anyone see how messed up that is?
I say parts of the country are third world countries. Like, some third world countries probably live in better standards than, like, say, some people in, like, the backwoods of Mississippi.
Yeah. So I was just trying to pull up the 22 states that have laws could likely ban or severely limit abortion on trigger laws. So trigger laws are when they basically just been waiting for the Supreme Court to do this so that their laws that are on the books would become legal, is in effect what it is. So the states that I've pulled up, obviously, of course, I went to go to the list instead of just look at this. So I see North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and Utah. Those are the ones that are going to be the worst to ban or severely.
But the good news is most of those states are like states no one ever visits. I'm saying, I hate to say it, but no one's ever gotten all wild up and think we're going to Utah.
Yeah, luckily those are lower population states as well. And that's what happened when we leave Christians unattended to play on their own. They turn their states into
theocracy.
Yes, and they break them of all their money, and then they have to get money from blue states in order to survive, to feed their people. And then their people are like, well, we're not going to give up on God because voting Republican could work someday.
Because God was the greatest American ever born.
Moses led us to the West.
This
is
the promised land.
Yes, white Jesus blessed the land, obviously, and God, he told, as all Christians say, he was totally pro-life. I mean, he only did a Thanos snap and genocidally flooded the entire planet, but he really is pro-life ?
Yeah. So,
but I mean, we can get into the history of that.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
But there are a few things that I do want to be sure that we touch on, at least, roadmap a little bit of the direction we'll go. I do want to touch on the fact that Roe v. Wade was protected under the 9th Amendment, which is under rights that we have that may not be listed or enumerated specifically under the 10 original rights, but implied.
And the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, the 14th Amendment. And then I believe it was the 4th Amendment, right? And right to privacy. It's a big one for me because it was about privacy between a woman and her doctor, about what was best for her own personal medical care, which, by the way, Roe v. Wade was originally passed by 9 male Supreme Court justices. They were all men. 7-2 voted because they got this. So obviously it's backward, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I did dress for this colossal setback. This is my 1950s dress. And I even wore a little headband like that's where I belong. So maybe they won't notice me and I won't get in trouble.
Well, you're in Illinois, but when you go to Texas, they'll, of course, have to put you in the red garb, the blinders on, welcome to Gilead.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be visiting it's going to be a while before I visit.
I was never wanting to visit Texas. I'm like, wow, you just sealed the deal for it. And like now they want to succeed. You have a crappy electrical system. Your cops can't save kids, and now you're basically against women. Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that visitor, that tourist program filling out anytime soon.
Yeah, by the way, Uvalde is on the list. One of the other implications of Roe v. Wade is going to be the increase in miscarriage death.
Of course.
And then I did not list these very well, but we'll get to some of those. So. Yeah, Texas has got a lot going on right now. Actually, Zach, you're from Texas and you live in Florida. Which state is worse?
Well, see, one state has Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott, so
the other one has DeSantis.
DeSantis and I forget his name right now, but yeah, it's kind of hard to decide. It's like crap 1 or crap 2.
Right. Well, people are starting to pit DeSantis versus Trump. I'm hearing a lot of people say they want DeSantis for president now over Trump, which worst thing is he's way more competent.
He is.
Scary.
I'm leaning towards Texas right now just because I think Ted Cruz is a bigger piece of crap than any other person in Florida.
Well, and also the justices said that, except for Clarence Thomas, he's screaming his own little war cry. He's like, let's go after gay marriage next, and then sodomy under the state can be prosecuted. That's really what he wants. I know I said it like Yosemite.
Let's go for his wife next. Like, how about that? Like,
yes. Let's get you impeached next. Let's get people who were pro-insurrection, anti-democracy out of the government. Let's do that.
Yeah, as you were saying, yeah, this opens up the door. See, because that's what I hate. I've been hearing this my most of my life when I keep pointing out the fact that Christians are just insane. They're well organized. They have way too much political power, and they're literally a minority because it's evangelical Christians, by the way, not all Christians. But evangelical Christianity has been shrinking since I think 2001. I've been noticing it, and I've been laughing my ass off about it.
It took it almost cut in half, like right at the beginning of the turn of the century. But yet they've been gaining. Did y'all see that documentary?
They gained political power.
2006 is when I think it happened.
Proportional to how much power they've lost in the numbers wise.
Their numbers go down, but they have more political power, which is funny. But it's evangelical Christians, which are now on par with non-religious people who actually outnumber them. And I had to point that out to a Christian. He got mad. So I'm like, no, go look at the numbers. And he got even more mad. Numbers don't lie. Yeah, you're not, you're the minority now. And I almost feel sad that if I can't pick on you now.
I know I've brought up The Family before on Netflix, which is about the evangelical movement in Washington. So the thing is that I think a lot of people don't realize is these people believe that God only cares about the elites. He does not care about the meek or the poor, or the masses, or anything that Jesus said. In fact, they don't even look at all of the books in the Bible. They only look at 5 of them. And I think it's John, Matthew, Luke, something, and Proverbs, but they call it something else.
Yeah, names that obviously are very predominant in the Middle East. Of course,
yes,
and people named Luke all the time there.
Oh yeah, I've seen these white male nationalists, Christian nationalists, who are like, I like what the Taliban's doing to women, and I wasn't lying when I said they're going to go after our vote next. That's what they.
Well, they tried to do that. I think in. Before the 2020 election, there was a rumor that a lot of women were voting against Trump. And there were a lot of Republicans that went on Twitter saying we need to repeal. I forget what amendment was that gives women the right to vote. 19th. But 19th. They wanted to repeal that. I'm like, wow, you just said that out loud in public. You're going to take women's right to vote away because they might not vote for you, dude. I mean,
well, this is why that series I'm doing on the male supremacy movement is so important, because it has been a sustained effort in order to rail against women and feminism having in modern countries. Like, do y'all remember that mass shooting in Norway? Shot 77 people. Was his name Breivik? And he said it was number one reason because of feminism spreading in Europe. And, that's why I really, so if you're listening today and you want to know more about the history and the groups behind these things, because it's not just the evangelicals, they're holding hands with the male supremacist movement, which does not make it on the mainstream media. So please come back and check it out. And I'm going to tell you all about it. You can also check on my YouTube and you'll see some intros to it, but that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Well, the thing I was trying to get to is the fact that I've been told my whole life that you're blowing things out of proportion. Every time I point out, no, Christians want to do horrible things. They're set to do it. Oh, you're just being insane. You're just over exaggerating. I'm like, no, they do. And this is what they do. And they're really good at it because they've literally set up a system where they will, because they're doing it now. They did this thing and they're already Christians and conservatives saying, well, that's all we're going to do. You guys are just making a big deal of it. It's going back to the States. Nothing's going to change. Right. It's okay and everything. I'm like, yeah, no, you take an inch and then you tell everybody to chill out so that we'll ignore you. And then while we're not watching, you take that other inch. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for far too long. And I'm like, I'm not looking the other
couldn't
way.
keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, and
going after gay marriage next.
Yeah, and they know that they're going to go after that. And Clarence Thomas, he's an idiot because guess what else? That amendment that they're basically taking away, they're banning abortions, also protected.
HIPAA,
interracial marriage.
Is that?
And isn't Clarence?
Well, so that's a little different because women are not a protected class in every state.
No,
but
no. Because and that's a thing that you also should look at. Because if and I always get this argument is if I make this assumption, people think, oh, that's crazy. No, that's a possibility. Because people seem to forget before they were on their homophobia tip.
Yeah.
Christians back in the day were against, and they even cited the Bible says interracial marriage is bad. They were against it. They were against interracial marriage to a high degree. They did not want to see a black man marry a white woman because it was against the Bible. Notice how they don't do that anymore because
they got to tiptoe back.
Yeah, they tiptoe.
You got to get back to it.
And they're going to get to that. They're going to get to a lot of theological laws to the point where I think it was last year or the year before that, some Christians on an atheist website, might I add, told me.
We were both raised Christian.
Yeah. Told me what was I going to do if they ever pass a law that would put me in prison for blasphemy. And I said, I will call the jail cell and reserve my room in advance because I'm going to be as blasphemous as I want. And I don't care what laws you write.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, no, they're doing this stuff. It's happening and they're going to do more. And they're going to try to get you to, they're going to try to water down this whole thing, which is they're already doing that now. But no, this is the inch, and they're going to get more inches after that.
So what some of them were saying was like, it's only this one. Don't worry. These other things are rooted in, things that are actually listed in the Bill of Rights. And it's just abortion, but it's definitely not. Clarence Thomas is and they've been saying these things out loud. Like they have been, they're saying, we like what the Taliban's doing. They're also evangelicals are also the biggest Zionists in the world. A lot of the things they've done in the Middle East are literally about wanting to bring about the apocalypse. They want that to happen, which
I know about that one too. They made a movie about it.
Yeah, so they want to destroy the world, think they'll ascend, and they want to leave us in this hellhole they create. They're literally trying to create hell on earth and then abandon us with death.
And they've done a fabulous job of sticking up for Israel by playing the anti-Semitic card. I always laugh at that card. I'm like, you can't judge Israel because that makes you anti-Semitic. I'm like, what makes me more anti-Semitic? I'm questioning a government that's doing war crimes. Meanwhile, you're an evangelical Zionist who hopes one day that white Jesus will come back, and upon his arrival, he will kill 2/3 of the Jews. Tell me that's not anti-Semitic.
Is that what he's supposed to do?
That's
like in a good way or a bad way?
That's what they're happy about.
Like I know that they're
happy about this.
I know that they're happy that they're supposed to like all ascend. Is that what you mean by kill? Like,
no.
They just want them dead. Like
when Jesus comes back, it's going to bring upon that 2/3 of the Jews will perish.
I didn't know that.
And the other third.
I was looking forward to the dragons though.
And the other third are going to convert. So it's basically getting rid of all Jews. And yet me questioning Israel as anti-Semitic. I'm like a Zionist happily, gleefully hoping for this end day scenario that will mean killing off the Jews. Is
that what these marks of the beast on us are good for? To keep us from being converted? Oh man! But maybe we need more marks of the beast all over me.
But again, that whole Zionist story. They made a movie about this, by the way. What I'm laughing about, they have tours where they point out on the horizon that's where all the people will be dying. But then here's Jesus will come right here, as if the dude knows, like it's been scripted and everything.
Did y'all see Jesus Camp in the '90s? It was a documentary in the '90s.
I didn't watch that.
Did you see it, Zach?
No, I saw that Macaulay Culkin movie that was kind of based on it.
I I don't know. I just remember as a kid seeing Jesus Camp because I was already because I was raised my grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher. So of course on my dad's side, Southern Baptist. And then on my mom's side, Church of Christ, where you can't play musical instruments in the church for whatever reason. I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Harmony from the soul.
Harmony from the soul, which
Jesus hates your music.
But meanwhile, they liked it when I played guitar outside of church. Anyways, I remember, so I was already going through some big questioning stuff, and I would even go to churches by myself. I don't know. I was super what is going on? I was so confused about all these mixed messages. And I even read Siddhartha, which was hugely influential on me. And I saw Jesus Camp, and these kids were being raised as warriors of God, quote, and that they must do whatever it takes to fight for God in religion. And, meanwhile, in one of the churches I was going to, one of the Second Baptist of Houston, they're like, no, definitely there's separation of church and religion. And in the church, it says to respect man's laws as well. And so I was raised with this very clear ideology that they don't mix. And then I saw this, and I don't know, the whole thing just made me sick. It freaked me out. And then I started seeing it everywhere. And that's when I was like, I want nothing to do with this religion. I know their history. I know they have killed gays and lesbians. They've accused intelligent women of being witches and burned them at the stake. They've
also killed doctors and firebombed abortion clinics.
Because
they're pro-life.
I went looking at the recent torture devices they used to torture non-Christians with. They had an entire industry.
Oh yeah, I know.
A whole industry of how they tortured people who didn't believe like them. And this is all I just keep saying the Iron Maiden.
And now you have politicians who want those days back. They look at the dark times of our history and think that's what I want to bring back. They don't want to bring back the 1950s. They want to bring back the 1800s. That's what they want to bring back.
With the 1100s.
They watch the TV show Handmaid's Tale, and they're taking notes.
Well, that was actually written originally in the 80s by Margaret Atwood, and she wrote it in response to the anti-feminist movement that blew up. So originally the women's right movement and men's liberation movement were hand in hand. And then what is that dog doing?
He was trying
playing. He was playing.
He's being friendly with the other dog.
I see.
What a show stealer. What was I saying?
Talking about Handmaid's Tale.
Oh yeah. So originally, the male liberation, it was about wanting to undo this rigid masculine box that men were being forced into. They wanted to be fathers. They wanted to be more nurturing. They wanted to be able to show emotions and everything. And then by the 1980s, when nothing had been fixed after a few years of protesting, they're like, you know what? Maybe it is all women's fault. Let's just go back to that. It was way easier to just blame women. And that's when it started touching into the evangelical movement. And she saw, Elizabeth Atwood saw that happening. And then she said, what if this keeps happening? And then boom, 2022.
Yeah, pretty much.
Here we are. We follow that road to its logical conclusion, and here we are.
Yep. Reductio ad absurdum. Only the absurdum is reality.
Yeah, we tried to avoid idiocracy with Trump, but now we've moved into Handmaid's Tale. That's it's we're just trying to pick which dark timeline we're a part of.
Well, I feel like we're also merged with 1984 because they're going to use 1984 in order to help keep Handmaid's Tale, and now here's the thing, if you just think of let's just get a little bit weird out here with these crazy conspiracy theories from all these science fiction books we've read, and I'm not saying any of this is true, but I am saying China also has that much information on us if they're on TikTok. So does that mean if we try to go to China for asylum, they'll be like, no. We saw what you did in America. You go back.
If you're seeking asylum, I think China wouldn't be the high on the list of places to go.
It's near the bottom for me.
It's really at the bottom. I'm just saying.
I need to escape the oppression here in America. I need to go to China.
Yeah, it's a little too far-fetched. But
you got
meanwhile,
a better chance at the Catholic countries now that I think about it.
Well, and you know what? Meanwhile, Putin is over there dancing because this has been the entire goal is to help destabilize the United States. And like, it's only going to get worse from here. And the Trumpers are threatening a lot of violence in November. So if you are going to be going to the polls, please, please, please keep your head on a swivel. Don't stay in your phone. Pay attention to your surroundings. There is lots of threats of violence, and the FBI has been putting out issues are the CIA's increases in terroristic attacks from the alt-right. And they like what's happening in Russia as well. And they like Putin, and, you know, because Trump has made Putin seem like an all right guy to them. And so now it's just like, I don't even.
Do you think like them stoking like distrust in the electoral system is going to come back and bite them at all?
I don't think any of them think that it would. I don't think they do.
No. Who?
I mean, since they've been pushing like the big lie, so they're trying to.
I don't think they think.
Well, no, you know, that's, you know, the thing is,
maybe the higher ups, but those idiots you usually see like Jordan Klepper making fun of, they don't have a thought process,
right? But I think
outside of their like barely breathing space.
But them saying like your vote doesn't matter, like
who said that?
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. They're trying to push like the big lie that Trump actually won, that he actually had more votes and they got thrown out.
Yeah. So, which, by the way, I don't know if y'all have been watching any of it, but highly entertaining. I wish I'd remembered every time it came on live. I haven't caught as much of it as I'd like, but I had shared this clip with Jeff. I don't know about it was Jordan Klepper talking to Mississippians who are about to go to this like Trump concert where family and friends were speaking. I don't even think Trump was there. And so he was talking to people outside and he's like, what do you think about what's going on with the insurrection hearing? Like half of them hadn't even heard of it. Like these one girls were like, I don't know what January 6th is. It's just a day, right? It's just a day that exists.
Oh, those two,
they were morons.
They're plants. They were just trying to mess with him back. They're idiots.
I doubt it. They seem pretty dumb, but like even, you know, they're like, oh no, it's all lies. Like, well, didn't you hear his attorney general say he was lying? And they were like, no. So he shows them the clip, and then they're all just like.
And his daughter agreeing with the attorney general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they brought that up next while they're all sitting there twisting like, well, I don't know. He's not family. And then Ivanka's like, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And then he's like,
speaking of family,
and he's like,
it seems like there was only two people in Trump's cabinet that were on his side with the whole big lie. You had drunk Rudy Giuliani, and he had this guy named, I can't remember his first name, but I remember his last name, Clark. And it's an interesting.
Oh yeah, he's the AG who replaced the second AG.
Hear this. I've never heard this conspiracy. There is a new one. He had a theory that Chinese spies used thermometers to hack our voting machines. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've heard. And I've heard every dumb thing.
He's also the one who sent in
thermometers, the Chinese spies. I'm like, how many Chinese spies and how many thermometers? I want to know the math ratio of how many Chinese spies armed with thermometers does it take to overthrow an election? I'm curious to yours. Was that in the 2000 Mules thing?
Well, the other one that they showed that he actually sent to them was the Italian government one, or the Italian person who, it was the movie, the Robin Williams movie, Man of the Year, right? Is that what it was called, when he got elected? Because the voting machine actually switched all the votes to him instead of the person who was supposed to go to. And so he became president. It's basically that theory, only nobody else has seemed to remember that came from a movie. They're like, oh, this weird guy in Italy proved it, and we'll get the information from Italian citizens. Like, what?
Like, how do they know about the American election? What do they have to do with that? Like, how are they involved?
And before we do that, we need to investigate that cabinet, that wardrobe cabinet in my house that opens into a new world.
I thought that was also China.
The conspiracy theories get funnier and funnier. Like you said this stuff on purpose. I just have to look at these people and they say that.
Man. Like,
I wish people would believe me, even though there's no proof at all, no matter what I said, they just automatically believe me. That'd be nice.
Well, that's why there's always, by the way, the large portion of them is evangelical Christians. And I love how everyone's shocked back, because I remember seeing it even on CNN years back. They're like, a majority of Trump's base that buys into his lies are evangelical Christians. They say it like it's a shocking thing. I'm like, dude, if you put a Venn diagram of evangelical Christians and people that listen to Trump, that's the most perfect circle you'll ever see. These are people who have been taught to buy into bull. No, you're
right. There's three main circles of Trump supporters. That is the evangelicals, the male supremacists, and the white supremacists. And then there's a big circle right in the middle where they all.
I hate to say this, but I'm pretty sure the evangelical Christians and the male supremacy thing is also pretty much a male circle, because
it's not that
their
close.
Religion is pretty much.
It's really not that close.
It's pretty close.
You can come to my lessons.
Okay, But I'm like, evangelical Christians have been born and bred to buy into baloney. So they were set up in advance to buy into Trump's lies. Like that was easy. I love how everyone tries to act like Trump he's a con man. He conned them. Like, no, he didn't con them. They were already conned to begin with. They were set up. That was a layup. You guys act like he make a slam dunk. No, they threw the ball to him.
Right. And like people act like Russia picked him from the very beginning. They're like, this is where they're going. So now we'll lean into this. This is the most divisive candidate in the 2016 election. So yeah, that's our guy.
No, Trump was just nice to I'm mad with the Democrats for making that into a thing, because they want to make it like cloak and dagger. Like it was. I'm gonna make it very simple. He owes Russia money. He's being nice to him, because Trump's was being nice to Putin, because he was hoping that he doesn't have to pay him money. Well, it's always about money with Trump. Well, he does owe Russia money.
we did do an episode on foreign influence campaign where we had social scientist Corey David Taylor on the show. It would go Corey Taylor, but people always think he's the guy from the band. What is it? Korn or something. I don't know. But yeah, and he brought us through foreign influence campaigns from Russia going back through the Cold War era. And what happened, the goal for the last 20 years or so has been to destabilize the United States, because the only thing that's going to topple a regime is from the inside, because there's nobody outside of us strong enough to. So whenever there's been places for them to sow the seeds of discontent and discord, they have. And that's why, coming out of the election of our first Black president, and then when we had this clown car circus full of Republicans, it was a really good time to just get on and start trolling for political purposes, until the point where Trump was really gaining popularity and the racists were getting behind him, publicly, like David Duke. And then, the evangelicals are like, oh yeah, this is our wolf king. So then Russia was like, well, let's just fan this flame. And nobody thought it could be that possible. And then even Trump, I remember the look on his face the night he was elected. There was no sound, because nobody thought he was going to have to say anything. Do y'all remember this?
Oh yeah. He didn't even think he was going to win.
It's just I feel like this was the view you saw of him, and he was just dumbfounded.
It was a shocker.
Yeah, because he only ran to basically get attention. That's all he did.
Ratings.
Yeah, pretty much. He just wants attention. That's all he wants. His whole presidency was nothing about me. He took tragedies and made it about himself, which is the most insane, insensitive, insecure thing I've ever seen. He is so insecure. This is the most insecure president we've ever had, where a national tragedy could happen, and he has to go there. Yeah, we're sorry about the families and everything, and but about me now. It's like, wait, no. What about this?
I remember Hurricane Marie in Puerto Rico, and he's doing layups with the paper towels. Okay.
You get a paper towel. You get a paper towel. You get a paper towel.
He was
Kobe.
He was doing photo ops. I'm like, this is not a photo. These are people who went through a tragedy. You're doing a photo op?
And then they spent the next 2 years denying them resources to bring power back to the island. power. They didn't even have power. Anyways, so I wanted to go back to Russia. So when we started, and a lot of people are, especially Republican, like the voters are such morons. So during Trump's presidency, he both dealt with Saudi Arabia in order to start these oil deals that are affecting our prices now. And he's also the one who opened up, what is that area where we basically let our allies lose?
Vietnam?
No. No. During Trump's presidency, the Kurds, when we lost the area that the Kurds were guarding,
was it Kuwait?
No, it's north of Ukraine. I'll think of it in just a second. I'm sorry.
I know it was a layup to basically, yeah.
Right. No, but we'd been helping, and then he pulled us all out of there and then basically let the Kurds die, who had been our major allies in the war with Afghanistan. And so he did that to enable Putin to be able to invade Ukraine later. And so these have been longtime deals that they're working on together. And we only receive 3% of our oil from Russia. So this idea that we're having some sort of oil problem because of that is completely fabricated.
Everybody lies about the oil.
Right.
Joe Biden lied. Also, the Republicans did too.
Look, so this is what happened. And then, so right now, they are not here in the States drilling nearly even a quarter as much in order. And they've said it publicly, the CEOs, that they won't until, they can absolutely safeguard a specific price in order to make money, because they're making money by not having any expenses. They've laid off tens of thousands of workers. They're playing the stock market, and Saudi Arabia is doing the sales right now. And so everybody's profiting extra. And this was all through deals done through money with Trump's hands all in it. Yes.
Price gouging. They made 300%. Was it over 300% in profits in the first quarter? And I'm like, but how are you raising the prices? And if you're not losing any money, because I heard inflation has something to do with that. So every time someone says inflation, I say that's a fun way of saying price gouging.
Yes, it's not inflation.
That's what it is. It's price gouging.
Oh, meanwhile, I just saw that a bunch of millionaires are lining up right now to prepare for a 2-year recession. And I'm like, does that mean they're creating a 2-year recession? Because what do you mean prepare for? But though it's the Republican millionaires. I just saw that. I saw a short clip, so I can't say too much more about that. And I believe it was on the channel that does the money stock stuff. Not a big stock person.
We're dealing with the biggest price gouging in history right now. It's not inflation. I refuse to use that word. Yeah. It's not inflation. All the companies that have upped the price, they made profits for the last couple quarters, so they ain't losing any money. So it's not inflation, it's price gouging. But we're the only
country that's not doing anything about price gouging.
I know other countries. Well, I mean, the gas and everything, it's still more expensive over there, believe it or not. But
I mean, I remember they tried, like, there was just that big because they're trying to prevent like the gas price gouging.
Yeah, Republicans voted against it, and they're like, Joe Biden needs to do something about the gas prices. Okay, here's something. We're going to refuse to do it.
Like they're giving them a plan. Yeah, I don't like it. No.
Well, what is your idea? Oh, I don't have one, but you better come back with something better. So you get the best until I like something.
You're trying to think of all our ideas.
Pretty much.
They don't want to do anything because they have no platform, so they're using all of this that they're setting up themselves, might I add, just so they can use it later on in midterms. That's all they're doing. That's why you could have the best plan ever to deal with the gas prices, and they'll still say no because then it would ruin their whole spiel for the midterms because they need something. They don't have anything, and they need something desperately because this abortion ban thing not looking good. So they need something to distract, and they're going to use gas prices.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, that means we have to be on a campaign to make sure to raise awareness of what is actually happening with gas prices. And I definitely have it's so hard to not cuss sometimes. I have a clown show going on in one of my TikToks when I talked about it, and like the amount of like Trump supporters who come out and don't even like, and we're all just giving them facts, and like they're slowly just stopping talking, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's working, but really I think they're just giving up. I don't think it's working. I thought, well, I can just give them the information.
What's this facts? I need to get out of here.
This is going to make me sick. Terrible, terrible. So the other couple of SCOTUS things that have passed recently. So, of course, there was the gun law in New York that was overturned.
By the way, love their timing. 2 major shootings. Hey, let's loosen up gun laws. How about that?
Yeah. So I was
you gotta love the timing on
right,
it.
Right when we have bipartisan effort actually happening in Congress to create something. So the thing I hear, though, I'm not 100% sure on this one, but it looks like it is very specifically targeting this one rule that if you're in New York, you must have a special circumstance need to have a weapon. And I kind of get it because like it has disproportionately affected Black and brown people in New York. That's the only ruling I can say I see a little bit with what they're doing here. Now, if they can pass a state law that isn't so exclusive, then it's okay, because the state law would otherwise allow these people to have them. It's this city law that was the problem that got overturned, and it was largely pushed by BIPOC people, from my understanding. Anybody know anything more about that?
I just know it's going to lead to more dead people.
It is going to lead to more dead people.
You have New York cops. They see you with a gun. Yeah, it's over. Especially if you're Black. Oh yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said about Uvalde. I'm like, they kept talking about the kid as he was a mass shooter. I'm like, you should have called him an unarmed Black teen. Then those cops would have rushed in there.
Did you hear in Washington, now they have the precedence that driving while Black can be used against an officer who pulls you over and can't prove otherwise that you may have committed a crime or something, because they have, I don't know, beaten and killed so many people who weren't doing other thing but then being Black while driving, that now it's an actual precedented defense.
Washington State or Washington, D.C.?
Washington State, I believe.
Okay.
Driving while Black. If you're going to pull over a Black person, you better have an actual reason, which thank goodness, because they've needed some protection for a while. Because, I mean, I just remember seeing them break people's, brake lights and being like, that's broken, get out of the car. Now they have cameras. Now you can't do that. And
everybody's got cameras.
Yep. And now you have this thing that you better show that they are specifically think that this person did something. There was a video of a man who had pulled up in his apartment complex, and he sat in his car on YouTube for 10 minutes. And then the next thing he knows, he's surrounded by cop cars and they're all pointing guns on him. And he gets out of his car and he's filming, and he was like, what? And they're like, well, we're looking for somebody. He goes, do I fit the description? Like, we don't know what he looks like. We don't know what he's driving, but we're looking for somebody. And are you kidding me?
You're somebody.
He's like, well, you were sitting in your car. And like, everybody sits in their car and looks on YouTube before going in the house if they, live with other people.
He should have been happy because for once he was somebody.
I used to take that 10 minutes. Took that 10 minutes apiece when you had a roommate, like to just collect yourself, have a little me time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, it's not illegal to sit in your own car, dude.
Not yet.
Good point.
Give it a few years.
You didn't pray to God. You need to.
Ugh. Yeah, like in the Navy, like we didn't even like getting out of our car to catch the morning colors. I'm just imagining people dodging morning prayer.
Yeah, that was the other thing about Uvalde too that I love, this the fact that it's because of prayer wasn't in school. I'm like, so let me get this straight. Because seriously, that statement, it sounds so stupid, but it has other ramifications I'm going to point out right now. That is, so your God is so petty and insecure that he's going to allow children to get slaughtered because they didn't kiss his ass. Wow, your God sounds so benevolent. Let me tell you, I'm rushing to church now. Plus, also the fact that, like, what does that do exactly? You think it's going to do? Do you think the gunman was going to run up to the school and say, I can't shoot that up? These kids prayed to God. Oh, darn. I'm going to have to go look for a school full of heathens now. Like, what do you think it's going to do? Like, they love to preach this as if that's the one all ticket that's going to solve everything. I asked a Christian this years ago, and I remember, and he got mad at me, but he still refused to answer the question. I want to say that forward, because I asked him, if I have a gun aimed at your chest, loaded gun, aimed at your chest. You have two options to protect yourself. One of them is a Kevlar vest, bulletproof vest. The other one is God's prayer. Which one are you going to choose? And he talked around it. I'm like, and you answer the question. Which one is it you're going to choose? It's ridiculous. I'm not going to answer the question. I'm like, which one are you going to choose?
This question.
Because you made a statement that God's prayer will protect you from bullets. I want to know. Let's test this theory out.
Did we ever get an answer?
Never answered. No, I told you never answered. You just kept walking around it. And I kept asking the question over and over again. Pick one. Come on. We ain't here all day.
I'm trying to, I was going to say, well, I guess we shouldn't move to Uvalde real quick, but in Uvalde, so that police chief, like everything's come out now that, within 3 minutes, they had enough police there to do everything. Within 10 minutes, like it was the state police were also there. And then for an hour and 14 minutes, they let those kids die. And one of the arguments is, well, they were scared of the AR-15. Like,
okay.
Didn't one of the officers want to go in because his wife was in there, but they took.
One cop wanted to go in there. Yeah. His wife died though.
His wife died. He was detained. His weapon was taken away.
Yeah.
He wanted to go in, and they kept him back.
So they stopped the one. They arrested. Think about it. He's the one cop that wanted to go in there and actually do something. They arrested him.
They had put another woman in cuffs outside the school. She got out of the cuffs, jumped the fence, went inside, rescued 2 classrooms full of kids, 22 kids, and led them all to safety without.
No, she grabbed her kids. She got
22 kids. She didn't get more. She got more than just her kids. She got her kids, but she got the whole classroom.
But then the best part of that story is
they threatened her. They
threatened her because she's talking to the press, and luckily, a judge. Because the cops are crap in Uvalde, but the judge is pretty cool. Because the judge even said flat out, because I guess she was on probation. And the cops wanted to use that probation to shut her up. The judge said, Mom, I'm going to waive the probation. You go ahead and talk. The judge literally said, no, I'm not. I'm not enforcing any of this. No. You want to talk to the press? You go ahead and talk to the press. That's why she didn't talk. She said at first, then the cops threatened her. You didn't hear from her. Then she did another interview. Yeah. And then she did another interview. And then you find out later on that, no, that's why she waited, because the cops were literally threatening her because of her probation, and they were going to use it against her. But luckily, a judge came forward and said that was on the case and said, "No, I'm waiving it." He basically said they can't arrest you. I'm waiving it. There's no arrest warrant. You go ahead and talk all you want, and then you can sue them afterwards if they arrest you because it's no probable cause. Because I'm the judge in the case and I'm waiving it.
Yeah. So also a couple things. One, the Congressman Gonzalez from Uvalde is now joining John Cornyn, one of the congressmen from Houston, in saying that they agreed to work on some legislation in Texas on gun legislation.
Good luck.
Yeah. They don't say exactly what they're going to do, but he cited seeing his father use gun violence towards his mother as.
With Abbott as governor, I'm gonna say I don't see a good outlook for that because anything Abbott wants to make it easier to have guns. He's done that since he's been in office. Made it easier for people to have guns.
Yeah, and harder for them to protect kids or to protect kids from being born into hell.
Matter of fact, wasn't it Abbott that kind of loosened up the rules so that an 18-year-old can get an AR-15?
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
Since then, like the murder rates have gone up. But we're still waiting on that good guy with a gun. Still waiting on him.
There was a really funny case of a good guy with a gun. So there was this guy. He was out in public and he was like parading around. I believe he had an AR-15, but it was some kind of rifle. And he got jacked. Somebody stole his rifle from him. So then after that guy was walking off, he ran to his car, got another gun to start shooting at the guy who stole his gun. And that guy started shooting back. And then a third person saw it and they got involved and started shooting. And like a bunch of people not involved got shot. And the guy still lost his gun. Like nobody was seriously injured though, but like what a clown show.
The gun laws are just insane because I'm like, you do understand you're making it the wild west.
See, the problem with a good man with a gun is like the bad guy usually kills a few people before someone actually stops them.
And the other thing with a good guy with a gun is if one, you don't have any tactical training, you're not going to be paying attention to where the civilians are. You don't know what a good line of sight is. And two, if you have never been in a pressure situation, you don't know how you're going to react, which is another reason why we shouldn't be arming teachers, because they already have the temperament to be working with children. What if they have a bad day? You want them carrying around a gun in school too?
The teachers that they're not paying enough to now.
Right. And who's going to pay for their guns? Like, you're not even buying them pencils. Who's going to buy their guns?
We can't get the cops to go after the guy with the AR-15, but Mrs. Thornstrip, she can do it. You know, she's 73, got arthritis, but we should give her a gun. Maybe she can do it. We can't get the SWAT team to help them out, but we can get this old Benny here to do it.
Right. And we'll just give her a revolver to be safe, because then like she won't have to worry about the safety. But 5 bullets should be enough for her, right?
Plus, the good guy with a gun scenario is based on the idea that it's based on fallacy. Fun fact, it doesn't matter how much of a good person you are. If you're a crap shot, you're dead. It doesn't matter. A lot of good people with guns get killed all the time in war. As I pointed out.
Also, gun maintenance and like people don't take proper care of the weapons.
Gun doesn't guarantee you're going to survive a shootout. As I pointed out, we've got Arlington Cemetery in Washington with a lot of gravestones of soldiers who had guns who died.
What were you saying?
Guns, they always like to accumulate that gun means safety. No, gun just gives you the illusion of safety. You're still there, have a very, very low risk of surviving a shootout because you're a civilian. And that goes back to the Uvalde argument where they say 18-year-old, well, he can join the army. Yeah, he can join the army, where they will train him before he even gets his hand on a gun.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't hold any water either.
So Zach and I were both in the military. Zach,
do they give you a gun right away?
Right. Oh, look, Reese is getting, she's getting excitable about this. Zach, you want to tell him what you did to get before you got the gun and then where you had to keep it stored?
So we didn't have live ammunition to start out with. We had the blank suppressor on top of it, and we practiced with blanks before we actually ever used live ammunition. So we had the weapons pretty much probably day 5. So we went through processing, gun safety.
To get into the army, you also do a FBI background check and a basic psych eval.
Yeah. But I've seen some people kind of iffy into, so
depending on the branch, like especially if you're going to be infantry, they kind of will let iffy people in,
especially during that time period in the mid-aughts. It was a little bit more loosey-goosey with who were there. They're trying to give me, they're throwing money at people like, here's $20,000, come join us. So it was probably about 2 weeks probably 3rd weeks when we had the first using live ammunition.
See, and so in Navy basic training, of course we have our background checks, and anybody who has, and like a lot of people in the Navy will have a higher clearance. So then we have a very a higher level FBI background check. And then, the psych eval. And then we're already in basic for a few weeks because they want to see how you're already going to be reacting under pressure before they put you in the high pressure training where they have like their scariest gun range masters who come and scream at you. If you flag anything, you're getting tackled, you will lose your ability. You'll have to start over, like all sorts of stuff. Like you can make 0 mistakes when you go to the gun range for the first time. And the gun is sitting here. You walk up to the booth, you take it in your hand, and then you hopefully don't turn it to the left or the right because you don't want to flag the people to your sides, and you shoot and you show them you know how to shoot, and then finger straighten off the trigger, and you do this, and you take tests and everything, and then you don't get your own gun in the Navy. And then when you go to your ship, like I did ship security, they keep it locked up. There's 3 or 2 people.
You don't keep it on you at all unless you're a deployed area. You don't keep it on you at all times. You take it to the army and turn it back in once you're done.
Wait. You don't go into like a local store with it on you, dressed up in camo and looking like Rambo?
No.
Wow, it's weird.
No, it's funny. We laugh at people in sandwich shops with a gun who's, scared. What are you scared of? You're at a sandwich shop.
And you don't wear that mask that has like the half a skull on it while you're walking in the grocery to get milk and eggs.
No, John Bernthal hates those guys too. John Bernthal played the Punisher, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And also the Punisher writers hate those people.
Everyone keeps pointing out, seeing the Punisher logo with the thin blue line, crossbreeded is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like you do know that makes no sense whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. That is the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, no, I put it on my truck. You made it. You might as well put truck nuts. You've actually given more of an argument to the masculinity and the intelligence of having truck nuts. Seriously, I'd rather you have those because at least, yeah, you're still stupid, but you're not completely stupid like with that.
Yeah, but like those are also the same people who use the words communism interchangeably with fascism because they don't understand there's a difference between economic policy and political structure. They don't even know what they're saying. They just say words and like they're strung together.
Well, they also think everything's communism, you know. To them, it's a catch-all for everything.
Communism.
Somebody goes, well, you're a communist, and I was like, I mean, not exactly, but
there's too much traffic on the road. That's communism. It's raining. It's because of communism.
The state owns that, communists, and I'm like, closer, not exactly though. Like,
and they throw around the whole socialist thing. Everything's socialism with them.
This country. Yeah. So oh God, I made some people mad the other. I was like, look, if you don't understand that Russia and China are not communist economies, like. I don't have the crayons or the patience to explain it to you. So just like leave me alone.
The crayons and the patience. Love that line.
And oh my God, like maybe I'll pull up some of these hilarious quotes of them describing what they think communism is. And what they think it is and how they think it applies to those countries.
It's especially funny when it applies to this country. I always love how they always show
same thing.
They show those videos of like supermarkets with bare shelves, and they always say, "See, this is what happens if we were to put socialism here." I'm like, you're showing pictures of capitalism here. You know that, right? Like that's here.
You got yourself.
That's capitalism right here. That's under capitalism right now. But yeah, go on with the socialism. Tell us. Tell us, you government genius. Fox does this all the time. Like they show bare shells and everything. Like this is what would happen under socialism. Look what's happening under capitalism right now. You're showing a video of it right now.
Yeah, I remember during like the first couple of weeks of COVID, all the shells, all the toilet paper was gone. That was like impossible to get for some spots. I was like. It took me about a month to actually see some on the shelf over here.
Which is so ridiculous. Whoever runs out of toilet paper? I didn't even go get any, and I didn't run out. What are you eating? First of all,
yeah. Well, some people go through it quicker than others. A row lasts me about 2 weeks. One row lasts me about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just like of all the things to hoard, that one just never.
For me, I buy the economy one, so I have this huge bathroom closet, and I just buy this huge economy one. And I had one just before that hit, and I was like, I'm gonna be fine for like a couple months. You guys have fun, man.
Get those 64 packs.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, if I saw the peanut butter sell out, okay, maybe I would get that. That would make a little more sense to me.
Like, did they still have vodka? That's the only thing I was worried about. Like, yeah, toilet paper. You guys go fight over that. Where's the vodka? I got laid off for a week. I need vodka. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to get potatoes and make my own vodka. Either way, vodka is going to be made.
Maybe it's time to invest in my own winemaking kit, but doesn't it take too long to make wine? I'm going to have to make something cheaper. I'm going to start making moonshine.
I was to say moonshine. All you need is some corn mash and I think a filter. I don't know. I've never made moonshine.
If you know how to make moonshine, please drop your recipe in these comments. We need it for purposes.
Scientific purposes. For our mental health.
So one of the other things that I wanted to mention that the Supreme Court did is prisoner protection rollbacks. I don't know if y'all heard about this, but they passed this horribly draconian middle-aged law that if you are in jail for a crime, you could be in it and you got a really bad lawyer because let's say you're poor and the state assigned you a lawyer who had 700 other cases at the time and gave you 30 minutes total. And you go to jail and you're either in for life. You could be in for life. You could be in for death row. It doesn't matter. And then you get the DNA evidence that proves you are 100% not guilty. Then they won't let you appeal it anymore. Sorry. You can't appeal that based on a bad lawyer. You will stay in jail.
Even with the DNA thing.
Yeah. Google it right now.
Why would they?
Because here's what they want to do. We're talking about you're talking about what do these right nationalists want? Well, first off, they have not so quietly been talking about being pro-slavery and how it's okay and that the Bible says it's okay.
No, I've been saying that for a long time. Christians hate that. The
states own the prisoners, but the prisons are privately owned and they're working, so they're making money off of the workers that the state owns, and so they only have to pay them $1.
Yeah, I know.
And so now they are state-sanctioned slaves working inside of privately owned plantations with no rights or abilities to appeal. And you know who they want to round up? Political opponents. That's how you're going to round up political opponents. People who speak out against you.
Sounds a lot like Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So adding that one to the other one, the 100-mile border ruling, where they basically it shields agents from excessive force claims. So in a 6-3 decision, conservative majority reinforced protections for government officials who are generally immune from civil lawsuits accused of constitutional violations. So the case that one of the cases they used was like Boole versus the court or whatever. And this guy, the Border Patrol went into his privately owned business and they like shoved him around and beat him up and tried to find somebody, but there was nobody illegal. And then the next day somebody smuggled into Canada and they found him. Well, they took this case to court, all the way up to the Supreme Court. And they're like, well, they were just doing their job. So you can't just sue them. And like, but then the dissenting voices were like, that was an American they beat up and the American was innocent and they didn't smuggle into the United States. So now, if you are within 100 miles of a border or within 100 miles of an international airport, the various agencies, Homeland Security included, can go and like they can violate all sorts of constitutional rights, and you have little to zero recourse to prosecute them back. You can't sue them. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the majority, said that in rare instances, such claims had been allowed to proceed without explicit authorization from Congress, and that the court should not second guess lawmakers responsible for deciding when individuals can seek damages for constitutional violations. Quote, because our cases have made clear that in all but the most unusual circumstances, prescribing a cause of action is a job for Congress, not the courts. We reverse. And then Justice Sotomayor wrote that the court had absolutely immunized from liability thousands of Border Patrol agents, no matter how egregious the misconduct or resultant injury. So let's say they just watching it, like they don't have a good warrant to be there. They're saying they're doing their work in the line of their duty, right? And they bust into your house. They search your things. They find something or they don't. It doesn't really matter. You can't sue them. There's no recourse.
Can you shoot them? Did they break into your house? They don't have a warrant.
I don't know. Can you prove that you didn't know they were cops?
You break into my house and you don't say anything, I shoot you. How about that? I mean,
that's the answer. But then you're going to get shot by the other 10 who are coming in behind them.
Like I don't see. I don't get conservatism on the things they say and do, because I'm like, you do know you're creating more problems now. This is the most armed country in the world, and you're now telling people they can just break into houses like that, and you think this is not going to go bad?
They are doing it for their own purposes. They are setting up their own laws so that they can prosecute and put people in jail. So now they can come to your home, put you in jail. They can beat you up, do whatever they want. Let's say they even frame you. It's not like they've never been known to do that.
Cops framing people? That's never happened.
You can't get enough money together to get yourself proven innocent. And then but you've been a political opponent. That's a likely target, right? BIPOC people are obviously the absolute most vulnerable to this. But white people who have been thinking, well, if I just keep my head down and keep voting Democrat, I'm doing my job. No, you're not. Because now you don't have a right to privacy as proven by Roe v. Wade. So maybe we can just find out who you voted for, and then they can just find ways to slowly go after all of these people. Like, I'm just saying, these are potential outcomes of these things. These are the directions it's going, and we have seen some of these things in action.
We've seen during the protests. Remember Bill Barr's unnamed task force that went up picking up people. That was a trial run. Remember, it stopped right away when people started reporting on it. It stopped right away. There was no one ever talked about it though. Yeah, that was a trial run.
In Portland especially.
That was a trial run. They wanted to say, let's see if we can do the brown shirt thing and get away with it and see how successful.
But I never heard about anything that came out of that.
No, nothing did. Nothing.
What did any of
no
them
investigation? No nothing.
Right. Whatever happened to the people they snatched up though?
They were let go. And they all said they were taken to a room.
Good.
And luckily, again, they weren't torture or anything. But again, I don't think they were taking them to torture them. I think it was just to scare them. And I think it was a trial run.
See,
just a trial run. They were just picking up anybody too.
And now
they picked up some kid who was just on the street. He wasn't throwing anything. He wasn't doing anything violent. He was just, standing there.
Yeah.
And a van pulls up, stashes and throws him in there.
And let's not forget that the United States is one of the top 10 countries in the world in human trafficking. They recently released this list, hundreds of name long for the Southern Baptist Church. So they had already prosecuted them. But on the East Coast, they finally released the names, hundreds of people in various levels in the Southern Baptist Church, both in the United States and out of the United States. These things aren't small. I will be doing also, if you're listening, we will also be doing a series on human trafficking in the United States. That'll be coming up later, but it's huge. And so we'll look at both workers and children and sex trafficking. So it'll be a big.
And all the stuff about religion, I just like to put under the umbrella category of reasons I still don't go to the church. Reasons. See, I'm lucky. See, I didn't grow up in a religious family. There's people religious in my family, but it was never pushed on us, I guess.
Yeah. I
went to church with my grandmother, who was evangelical, and even I realized this is even I think it was 7 or 8. Even I noticed this is kind of weird. We're giving money to this church, and the church was in disarray, and they always needed money to fix the church. You never seen anyone fixing that church. Every summer I went down there, never once ever, until one morning we got to that church super early, and then it all hit me at 8 years old. Because even my grandma got mad and hit me in the back of the head because I asked a question that was a very relevant question. And that was, why is the pastor driving the nicest car than anyone in this small little town? Why is he driving? He was driving and I say this, pimped out Cadillac. It was
pick out my ride to the TV.
It almost was like that.
It had a fish tank and stuff.
It was just freshly washed and everything. It gleamed and everything. And I pointed out, how does he have that? And I remember my grandmother says, and I just said, what kind of job he has? Because my thought was you got a nice car, you got a nice job. Here's what my grandmother said: he works for the Lord. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, so we're giving money to pay for his car. And my grandma hit me in the back of the head when I put that. Because it was true. He doesn't have a job. We give him money. He ain't fixing the church. He's paying off his car note.
It's time to roll back their protection.
So
Jesus. And in Texas right now, they have churches that are screaming to have LGBTQ people shot in the head and just executed.
Well, it's part of the GOP plan in Texas.
Well, did the Supreme Court also have another ruling about taxpayer dollars going towards religious schools recently? I think it was a couple days ago.
Really? Oh, how did I miss it?
Yeah. They did that.
Taxpayer dollars can go towards religious schools. That was a couple days ago, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's why I've suggested. Well,
everybody, listen up.
Let's tax the churches.
Freedom from Religion Act. This is who we need to get behind and rally behind and get them some money because no. Either them or, I would say Satanic Temple, but it turns out that the guy who runs it's kind of anti-Semitic, so not them. But the Freedom from Religion Act, they are a group of trying to disentangle the churches from politics and get their tax status removed.
There's also a lot of organizations run by lawyers that actually, because again, this is an ongoing battle. As I pointed out to people, Christians are doing crazy stuff all the time. You don't hear it in the news, but they're always doing it. But there's a team, there's humanists out there with lawyers. And I'm part of these groups on Facebook, and I always like watching some of these, but they're fighting all the time. They're like, oh no, we'll go to court over this because you're trying to overstep against separation of church and state. Well, we're going to go to court and I'm going to fight you on this and we're going to win. So they do this all the time. So yeah, give it to these groups because they're fighting a good fight.
Yeah. I think we should take a moment to talk about something both good and in the Black Lives Matter movement. Looking to pull up my forms.
I was to say, there's something good going on. Like
I made sure
everything is raining hell, but we've got one shimmering light.
Yeah, I made sure to find something, because I also like to make sure that we pay attention to news that doesn't just affect white people, and also that we don't always have very negative stuff. Because after that foreign influence campaign show, where we were just really depressed by the time, even though we do have some recourse to figure out when we are being trolled and when we're being influenced, it was pretty heavy. So Kailee Scales, she's a former Black Lives Matter managing director, has been awarded a Lifetime Achievement Prize, the Classy Award, and it recognizes pragmatic excellence in the fields of education, workforce development, and more. Let's see. She served as the first managing director of Black Lives Matter Global Network and helped take the movement from a hashtag to one of the most powerful organizations in the country. And now she's aiming to do the same as her role as CEO of a nonprofit, Pencils of Promise, and getting recognized for all the other incredible work she's done. So if you want to check her out, the Classy Award, it says, the Classy Award sets the bar for ambitious, innovative, and impactful work in service of the greater good. These groundbreaking nonprofit organizations work tirelessly, often with too little resourcing and recognition, to drive change in their communities. They started the Classy Awards in 2009 as a way to honor the incredible cohort of organizations that give so much to the world. Yeah, congratulations to Kailee Scales. She's doing great work. She's been amazing. You should definitely check her out. She does a lot of work to go back into the communities, and I think that's super important. Yeah, and then, well, in the less,
it's good to have that nice little teeny bit of hope.
There. Yes, that we have, such a woman working towards reform in all, in very important places.
It's just good to hear about a decent human being when everything else is just raining crap right now.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we brought her up and gave her, cheer on and hope that she keeps and inspires. She interacts with a lot of young women as well. So hopefully she is inspiring more.
Well, I do have a little bit of more hope I can add to this.
Yeah.
What happens in your state, Florida?
What's that?
Actually, there is a court case that I think should get a lot of attention. Apparently, there's a Jewish synagogue that wants to basically fight against the ruling to banning abortions because based on religious, basically based on religion, because they're all saying no, we allow women to have abortion if the child is going to put undue stress and harm.
It explicitly says that in the Bible.
Yeah, it says so.
Explicitly says it just like that.
So they want to fight that, and I'm like, well, then that should get all the attention in the world because that will be an interesting case because now you have to have these conservatives who keep acting like they're not Nazis have to make a decision. And that's going to be an interesting case.
Yeah, and we'll be having an ex-evangelical pastor on here who is both pro-choice and LGBTQ, and he left the church when they made gay marriage legal because he was marrying gay couples. He is gay, and I want to find also. I was talking to I know a woman. What are they called in Jewish religion? The religious leaders.
Oh, rabbi.
Yeah, I know a woman rabbi. So I'm trying to get I'm trying to talk her into coming on air to talk about it, but we will be getting together with some actual religious leaders from these movements to talk about them, because according to him, the evangelical church historically, prior to the 80s was, to Billy Graham's, was pro-choice. So there has been an ideological shift and a break. So it's not even just the whole evangelical movement. Like, not even all of them are, in this pipeline of this cult. It is a cult.
Well, the anti-abortion people who want to ban abortion don't even make up a third of the country, and they don't have the numbers on their side. So.
Clarence Thomas said, "We are not a democratic court. We do not care what the people want. Over 70% of the people of this country are pro-choice, and they don't care. They don't care. And that is how you bypass democracy. You put them in the Supreme Court." And we saw this. And I had this conversation. I was like, I really just wish that we would start packing the court. I don't even care. And I was talking to my dad about it. He's like, well, the precedent that sets for the next administration. I don't care. We are hemorrhaging. If you take a body into triage and there is blood spouting out of one area, and if you put something on it, it's slowly going to cause a rash. That could get worse.
Sometimes you got to cut off an arm to save the rest of the body.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do it. Okay. Sometimes but we've kind of waited. I almost feel like we've waited too long at this point.
We've been screwed over by basically both political parties. The Republicans are going to screw you over anyway, but the Democrats, what have they done? Nothing. They've done absolutely nothing.
Well, the whole point
we twiddled our thumbs. That's what we did. We twiddled our thumbs and did nothing.
There's just as many Democratic billionaires as there are Republican billionaires.
No, I'm talking about just with the abortion thing. This could have been solved very easily. They had literally every opportunity in the whole world, and we're getting a mouthpiece. They're going to use, and the Republicans are using all kinds of crap for the midterms. Here's what the Democrats are going to do now. They're going to say, well, see, they're banning abortion. You got to start voting for more of us. Even though we had majority, we could have done something. We're going to need you to vote more and give us more money. Otherwise, we might be able to overturn this one thing that we could have literally stopped, a decade ago. They could have done it a decade ago.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Obama could have codified it, back when he was first elected, but never happened.
They had literally a dozen opportunities to do that, and they did nothing. And they knew this was coming up. That's why I love seeing Pelosi and Biden act like it's shocking. Dude, we knew about this for months, and for those whole couple months when that ruling came out until now, what have you done? You got on camera and complained about it. You're in charge. I don't need a Karen. I need a manager. Right. You're in charge. You could have done something about this. See, they have power. They act like they don't, because Biden keeps thinking, I can play because these are my friends. I'm friends with Mitch McConnell. I don't want to upset him.
But they literally are friends. That's the thing. Yeah. This is all just political theater is the accurate word, because, when they close the doors, they all go home, they chat and they do whatever. And the thing is, I think that people forget, I get that the Democrats aren't as bad as Republicans, but they both serve the same purpose. And that is to represent the corporate class. And that is to keep things the way they are. And everybody keeps talking about I wish it was just like it was before Trump, or I've heard some boomers say I wish, we could bring Clinton back for it. And I was like, why? Clinton opened up the doors for mass incarceration. All of them have been working in tandem to keep the imperialism going, to keeping poor people dying, to keeping everybody in their place, and keeping the corporate class not only rich, but now it's getting richer to the point that now we are going to have food shortages based on their decision to euthanize livestock and to bury products because of profit, maintaining profits. This is no joke. Things are getting crazy right now, because that's how you control people with resources, particularly the water and the food. And now they have complete control of it, and we don't really have any recourse to do anything. And that's why I say the only thing that will make a difference at this point is a national, preferably an international workers' strike, where we quit making money. We quit doing things in the corporate way, and communities need to keep each other moving. Minus money, figure it out, and keep doing it until they cave, until we get something back.
And if anyone wonders if that will work, well, we saw that work in action during COVID, because a lot of things happened under COVID, and a lot of things, good things for workers and citizens under COVID, because they saw in retaliation, they saw, well, this is what happens when everybody stops work, because we found out our economy is based on a lie. It's not strong. It's never been strong. Our economy has always literally one tiny little like eyelash away from collapsing. It's always set up that way. It's one eyelash away from collapsing because it's not based on money. It's not based on ideas. It's not based on really good capitalism. It's based on the idea if I can't get that Joe over here to sling burgers for the next hour, my whole system can collapse. Because it's what's based on. It's you guys. And they don't like that. They want to feel like they're in charge. But COVID showed that, no, you're not in charge. We're in charge. If we don't go to work, you're screwed.
Exactly. There's nothing tangible, particularly once we've moved the money to digital.
And you can get people to rally to that by reminding them of that.
Yeah, pretend there wasn't, like there's been this huge EMP threat from nuclear warfare. Okay, so pretend there was. What is the corporate class going to do for us then? Nothing.
No.
We're going to have to help each other. We're going to have to find a way to move food around again. Like this world doesn't have a resource problem. This world has a greed and a logistics problem. With the amount of money that is being scraped off the top, we could literally have found a way to circulate food and resources to every single human on this planet. We could do that. And instead, they would rather throw trash out in order to maintain the order.
Or lock it up.
Bleach it, pour poison on it. Right now, I've seen the footage of them throwing it back into the dirt and then just tilling it away so that they can plant next year's crops on it because they had, quote, too many, instead of freezing it and shipping it to countries that were looting. I'm angry.
I think we had that good news a little while ago. So.
Yeah. Okay,
5 seconds in it.
Okay, wait, I got something else. And this is like it kind of spreads both the Black Lives Matter and LGBT. So a nativity school in Worcestershire, the Rob McManus, you may recognize this name, Bishop Robert McManus. He's the guy who, well, first he went after them because they had pride flags and Black Lives Matter flags, and the church says they're welcome to everyone, but he wanted them to take him down. And this guy, you may have remembered him because he and the Diocese of Worcester were named in the sexual abuse lawsuit in 2020 filed by a former parishioner.
Only 20?
Yeah, in 2020. And he's been involved with the church much longer, and he's now been named the Dionysus by Pope Francis. So if y'all think that Pope Francis is like, quote, progressive, well, this is his guy, and he was appointed by John Paul II as well. And I believe he was involved in that Catholic abuse on the West Coast as well in California. But he was criticized. He criticized the College of Holy Cross in Worcester for renting out sacred space to the Massachusetts Alliance on teen pregnancy for workshops. He said that those subjects violated the teachings of the Catholic Church because they and they talked about the criticisms. And then in 2012, he went after Paxton, Massachusetts, the Anna Maria College in Paxton, Massachusetts, to rescind an invitation to Victoria Kennedy to speak at the commencement ceremony, citing her views on abortion rights and same-sex marriage. So he had that lady removed. He also had and then he was appointed Dionysus. These are just some of the bigger things you may have seen his name. And then he did this recently. But since then, this nativity school in Worcester has donations pouring in, just so much money because they refuse to take the things down. So Robert McManus, sexual abuse proponent, trafficker, and protector. Yeah. You lose this round. And then the other thing is, a New York library reverses decisions to ban LGBTQ children's book in an outcry. The board of directors had said, well, they can't have this display up. They got to take it down. And Governor Hochul said, no, public places are prohibited by law from engaging in discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And Yeah, so they had that reversed, and they called it a direct violation of New York Libraries Association's commitment to intellectual freedom and the freedom to all read that libraries are entrusted to uphold. So, and she pointed out that for many LGBT kids, libraries are one of the few spaces where they can be welcome and affirmed for who they are, and the public spaces should be accepting to our young people, not rejecting them. To LGBTQ plus New Yorkers, we stand with you, we support you, and you are welcome here. And that's from Governor Hochul. So good. Governor is reaffirming that. And then in California, they had also had some trigger laws about the abortion stuff, only they had trigger laws to provide protections immediately to privacy for women.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some stuff going on in the reverse. We're not hearing as much about it. It's smaller. It's not Supreme Court level.
So here's my question, though, and we need to bring this up, and that is the fact that remember I think it was it the Mississippi? No, was it the Georgia one, or I think it was the Texas one. One of those states, their abortion ban actually does cross over into other states. So I'm thinking now that this is back to the state's hands, do those apply? Because that's going to be a legal fight between states. Because if someone leaves Texas to come to Illinois to get an abortion, and Texas tries to prosecute, can't Illinois say, no, it's legal here?
Yeah, that's one of the problematic things because they
act like they try to act like these abortion bans are only in these states. I'm like, no, they're going outside their states. They want to push you. They want to prosecute you if you go to another state and do it, which is probably even more draconian than to begin with.
You're ignoring other states' rights to implement your own. So, like, well, what's up with that? Like, what makes your state more right than another state? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you can't just implement your law into another state. It's another state.
I just don't understand, honestly, how they can do this. Like, how you can allow, the whole point is by states banning abortion, you're denying human rights to their own bodies. Though I've always made the argument that this country absolutely does not have bodily autonomy because we regulate what people can put inside their own bodies. We regulate whether or not we can smoke weed, which is natural from the earth, and cancer treatment.
The other thing they're going to also regulate, which is on the horizon, and I wonder if this will get more attention than the abortion thing, is they can also try. Remember, they tried, Republicans, conservatives, Christian conservatives, they have tried several times to make it a law against anal and oral.
Oh yeah,
and that is in the future. So I'm wondering, is that going to get some attention? Because
yes, Clarence Thomas said he wants to go after states being able to prosecute sodomy, and the other justices were like, "Shut up." But yes, that is something that he specifically wants to do. I remember when I first joined MySpace, I was following this guy in North Carolina. He was like a D-list celebrity. And he was constantly campaigning against North Carolina's laws against specific sex toys. And like, they were really hilarious to me, but they were super dedicated to trying to find out if people were having sex facing forward or backwards. Like, they were so into it, like the law.
What was it? Didn't Ted Cruz fight against people having sex toys in Texas? Like it.
You can't have more than sex. That's the Ted Cruz thing. He brags about that, but like Ted, that's not
that's bragging point.
Clearly, like
these are just people who are bad at sex.
If I go to Texas, I actually want to test that theory out. Like, if I buy like 6 dildos, can I buy a 7th one? Will they arrest me right away? I mean,
well, why do you care what someone does in the bedroom? Like, what's that? Why is that such a big deal to you?
I know, it's 2 consenting adults. We don't need the government in our bedrooms.
I want to hear the reasoning behind it, though. Somehow this is.
If I can't satisfy my wife, no one can.
Well, I mean. Anyway, it's Ted Cruz. Come on.
Yeah. No one's ever been satisfied by him.
Yeah, him and Ben Shapiro, they can go.
Oh yeah, Ben Shapiro opened a bit. Women don't get wet down there. My wife says that it doesn't happen. I'm like,
I've never experienced that in my life.
That's one of the biggest.
Your wife is your wife really loves you because she was lied to you.
Yeah. That is a song.
I love Ben Shapiro, but we need to stop picking on him, because how would you feel if you were in your 30s and you didn't hit puberty yet? He'd be very upset all the time, like Ben Shapiro would. That's
the thing, though. He's not just upset and complaining. He's affecting laws and affecting and influencing people's thoughts on how they view these things.
I wouldn't say him too much. He's turned into a real big joke pretty much at this point now. But
he got so mad about that. About the Lightyear movie. He got so mad about that because there's a same-sex couple in the Lightyear movie, and they have one scene together where they kiss.
A little peck.
And they got so upset about it. It's like, oh, this is going to lead to the moral collapse of America. Like, dude, people kiss on screen all the time. It's not that big of a deal.
They called it. Yeah, a few of them said it's unclean. I'm like, what's so unclean about two chicks kissing? And like a dude and a girl kissing. Please explain it to me. I asked somebody this, and they didn't. They never answered. I'm like, yeah, because there isn't.
Prince Charming kissing a comatose Snow White.
Totally fine. Yeah.
That's totally fine. But two consenting adults, that's no.
Well, these male supremacists do think that if the woman is passed out or if they're in their home, that rape should be legal. So why wouldn't they not have a problem with that? That's true.
Does that work with them too? If they're passed out, and
they wish. They wish.
I wouldn't say I was going to do it personally, but those 6 dildos I bought from Texas might come to use.
Yeah, well, I heard they're discontinuing them in Texas. Get your dildos while they're cheap.
I would just like to hear the thinking behind that, because he made it a specific number, no more than 6 sex toys. I'm like, because 7 is just going to push people over the edge. Is that what's going to happen? Have you done some testing on this where people will buy 6 sex toys? But once you buy that 7 one, bad things happen.
Does a ball gag count as a sex toy, or is that just a silence instrument? Like, I'm not sure. Like, what's considered a sex
toy? What if we call it for torture, huh?
Well, for Ted Cruz, it's an accessory. And,
is my gimp suit a sex toy?
Yeah, is Ted Cruz's gimp suit that he wears?
No, that's cosplay.
It's what Trumpy wants me to wear.
And this is a prop.
I love the fact that Ted grew out the beard, act like I'm so manly. I'm like, dude, we still remember how you bent over and took it in the over Trump making fun of your wife, and you've yet to do anything about it.
His beard looks terrible.
Like, dude, he talked crap about your wife, dude. You've never come back from that.
No.
I even half expected Trump to at least come out and apologize about it, and then Ted Cruz be on board. Ted, you didn't even get an apology. You were like, Ted Cruz is like in the simp hall of fame, man.
I can go on. I hate Ted Cruz. Like, he abandoned his constituents during like a crisis when the power went out across the state. He ran to Mexico. Like, I was on vacation.
I know you left.
It's my daughter's fault. By the way, his daughter hates him. You do know that she's doing porn in like a couple of years. You do know that. Like, she's gonna do something, or she's gonna do.
I hope she doesn't, because people would definitely try to take advantage of her in that business.
Okay, but she's gonna do something.
I hope she becomes politically active and tries to undo everything he did.
By the way,
like Mitch McConnell's kids kind of hate him because like they were raised separate from him. Like, once he divorced his first wife, and like his kids are pretty left-leaning compared to him.
Yeah, and there's a couple of those the male supremacist politicians who are running, like, their families are running like open ad campaigns against them. Like, there was one where this guy had like 6 brothers and sisters, and they were like, it was all of them together. Like, don't vote for him.
Sadly, people did vote for him.
And then there was this other one where this male supremacist, he had 3 daughters, and all of them were like, don't vote for our father. He's a terrible person. He's anti-women's rights. Like, just I hope she gets involved in politics. I'll gladly. I'll have a chat with her. Maybe I can bring her on the show one day.
By the way, it was the same daughter that was in that infamous when she was really young, like this is before 2016 and all that. And Ted Cruz tried to have a father-daughter moment, and she just looked away from him. Remember that? Yeah, it's that daughter, by the way. Like, yeah, she's hated him for a very, very long time, apparently.
He's not very likable.
He isn't. I remember hearing all the stories about people roommating with him back in college, and they couldn't stand him. He's not a likable person, but yet he gets elected in Texas. Like,
well, that's the thing about politics. Like, most sane people don't want to do it. It's a nightmare.
I thought you had to be charismatic to like be like
Not for a Republican. You just got to say, look, I'll talk about the Bible and your guns. And then they just instantly.
I've been approached 3 different times in the last year and asked if I want to run. And I'm like, I got a radio show now. I feel like this is the better fit for me. I don't want to explain all of my past, honestly. But I mean, I've considered it because a lot of these Republicans are getting elected in like areas they've never lived. They don't visit. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's representing a county she's never lived in. She doesn't live there now.
Yeah, she lost her first one, by the way.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe Zach, I mean, you're a veteran, run for something.
And also Marjorie ran pretty much unopposed, so it's not like she
ran unopposed.
So yeah, it's not like she won the race if you're the only person running around in the circle. But again, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She runs around the circle. By the way, remember just recently she got mad at a British reporter when the British reporter brought up that, hey, we don't have a gun problem in our country. Yeah, stay problem. No, we don't. Go back to your own country. I'm like, Marjorie, she's going back to her own country. She's happy to do it. We just wish, Marjorie, you'd go back to your own planet.
That girl, you know what? Like, I think it's so hilarious her complaining about like the conditions in jail that the people who committed an insurrection are dealing with. And like the one thing,
I laugh at it.
I do too. But the one thing I can like hope is maybe she will go for, major prison reform. Like I would get behind that. Like, I don't care if this cuckoo nut wants to go for prison reform and get better conditions for people in jail. That would be the only good outcome for me of her complaining. But what she wants is them to all be pardoned.
Yeah, she ain't going to do anything.
Yeah.
No, and it's only the white ones in there. Well,
right.
They're all white, actually.
It's fine for, BIPOC people or people that don't like.
That's the funny part. You see all the insurrectionists in all those videos. Here's a fun fact. Why are they all white? Just want to point that out. Anyway.
Yeah.
My other favorite thing when I talk about religion is bringing up that other wonderful religious Christian organization, which is of course the KKK. I love bringing that up to Christians because they always say flat out, "Well, you're not racist." I'm like, you Christians, you are knee deep and you seem to forget your fellow brothers in the KKK movement. They're not Christians. I'm like, you think they're not Christians? Like, you can't prove they're Christians. I'm like, you do know those are crosses they were burning people's yards, right? It wasn't because they had a fiery affection to the lowercase t. Those were crosses.
They're burning stars of David or
it was a cross. They were burned. It's not because they really liked the lowercase t and they wanted to lay it on fire and that. But then a Catholic will say something about it, and I'm like, you need to shut up too, because again, let's not bring up Hitler now, because he was Roman Catholic, and after World War II,
don't forget slave owners were Christians.
Hold on. After World War II, a lot of the Catholics, they had a fun little hobby of trying to get Nazis out of Germany secretly. So, and again, Hitler was a Roman Catholic. And of course, Catholics like to argue, say, well, no, he was. I'm like, yeah, he was. Because once they killed him, they went through Hitler's stuff. And he had a treasure trove of golden crosses, Catholic memorabilia. I mean, if he wasn't a Catholic, he was a fanboy at best.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I truly believe that one of the worst things that has ever happened to this world are the Abrahamic religions. Like before all of them, before they existed, there was mostly egalitarian, matriarchal societies. Like, especially like for me, I'm Swedish, so I can look at Scandinavia, and even half of their military was women. Like, it was literally egalitarian until Christianity was brought up there. And if people want like an idea of what life was like once Christianity started touching that is what the book Beowulf is about. Beowulf shows you like what was good and how they were able to integrate it into their society. So Beowulf shows the bad character, the dragon, right, is the person who took all the money and hoarded it from the townspeople. And the good guy was the king who went and defeated the dragon and then shared all the money back with the people, and everybody else was equal. Like, there was a king, but like there wasn't like very strict laws or anything, and
that goes against white Jesus and everything he stands for.
So greatest American that ever lived. That was the first like English written novel, and that was right after they just started getting influence. So you can see where it went after that. And then, of course, because they were one of the first, they're also one of the first ones to be like, you know what, we're going to go back atheist. Like this was a nightmare. That was a bad idea.
We all need to treat religion the way that one primitive tribe from that island. I don't know if you know the story.
Sentinelese?
Is that the tribe?
Yeah, the Northern Sentinelese.
If you don't know the story, I don't know if you know it.
Probably.
Well, tell our listeners, there's this wonderful tribe barely touched by society, and a bunch of Christians thought, well, we need to give them Christ. So one lonely Bible thumper decided he was going to go to that tribe and give them the Lord prayer or Christianity or whatever, and he got a spear thrown right into his chest.
Well, they've tried it a few times. Everybody internationally is telling people to stay away from the North.
Stay away from them.
Because at this point, we also know what happens when dirty white people go to countries where BIPOC people are living cleanly. And we bring disease and we destroy them. So they are not just like in fear of this religion.
This is a tribe of civil issues that has been around for thousands of years. And they've been doing quite fine. Then a white dude with a Bible and khaki sites. I'm gonna change all that. Got a spear right in his chest, and I laughed at it. And a lot of people got mad at me. I'm like, "What? It's funny. It's funny. Tell me it's not funny. It's funny." He's like,
he messed around and found out.
Yeah, he messed around. Like that's mess around and find out in very dark reality right there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm thinking the world would be a better place if we all treated Christianity that same way. We all just had our own little tribes, and someone walked up with the Bible. You guys don't have the Lord's Prayer. Quick, someone throw something at him. Quick, throw it.
I think the sooner that, like me personally, I feel like the sooner we can reject anything that has come from that religion that doesn't fit in with natural human empathy and law, like. The sooner we can get rid of that, the sooner we can save this planet, because Christianity is forcing us to deal with so many like hemorrhaging fires of human misery that we're not even getting a chance to pay attention to climate change. Like we're already in the I don't know, it'd be great as if one of these really badass superstorms were just, run into SCOTUS or maybe just wipe out. I don't know. Can we get all the evangelicals in one place?
Well, that's the other thing I want to point out, which is the only shimmering truth of happiness in this whole ban abortion is this is going to lead to a lot of people growing up basically saying, yeah, I don't want to be part of the church. Because as I point out, that people don't leave the church because atheists have such a wonderful plan for them and we just steal them away. No, they come running. No one invites them. They come running.
Atheists aren't actively pushing their beliefs on people to try to drag them in. That people just find their way over to atheism. We're not like religious people trying to lure them in with these false promises and nice words. Christianity
and religion basically creates atheism, and I pointed out to them, and they get mad every time I point out because it's the truth. You guys do this. You do know that. Like it's like a horror movie.
Atheists are more well read on the Bible than the majority of like hyper religious.
Church is nothing but a book club for people who haven't read the book.
They only have one book. They've only read one book in their life, and they've read.
They haven't even read it. But they leave for that reason. It's like that horror movie where the baby's getting creepy phone calls, right? You know that movie or that trope?
Are you talking about Scream?
But there's another one too. It's like she's getting creepy. Yeah, well, she's getting creepy phone calls.
Oh, you're talking about the old horror story passed around on the campfires.
Yeah, okay.
Where like the calls coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
That's Black Christmas.
That's basically Christianity and atheism right there. The Christians think it's the scary voices out there, but we're pointing out like, no, it's an in-house problem. It's you.
Well, I just I think it's not. To me, it's not an accident that when Christianity spread, so did disease. I don't know. I feel like it spread like a plague.
Purposefully, like we brought smallpox blankets and like, hey, I like your land over here. Here's some of these free blankets to keep you warm at night. Don't worry if you get sick or not. The blankets will keep you warm.
Yeah, Native Americans are doing fine before we got here.
There were like 38 million Native Americans, or 138. I don't know, something crazy. Like,
and they're doing quite fine on their own, actually. Like,
I know. And do you know how hard it is to find a book on the history of America prior to Western civilization? Like, we're still actively suppressing what this country looked like before we were here. It is. I've been looking for, like, I want a really good comprehensive book of the history of the United States before Westerners got here. And I don't know, if I'm just overlooking something really obvious, please tell me, like, just let me know. But
it's not readily, it's out there, but it's not readily available is the problem.
Yeah, I can't find it. Yeah. I mean, it should be just as prevalent. There should be a class taught in high school.
You're not going to find it in libraries and stuff but if you actually talk to actual tribes they can hook you on to, like, information, all that.
Yeah, I have some.
You should be able to find it in the library, but sadly, no, you have to go to these actual.
If you look up, like, American history, like we were teaching in high school, I don't think we learned anything before, like, the 1600s or
right, but before Nathaniel Hawkins' Scarlet Letter. Yeah, no, I lived in Albuquerque briefly, so I have some books on, like, Navajo.
This country wasn't anything. Then the white man showed up, and then God and everything, and then there was a turkey, and the end. Yeah.
Or it was aliens.
And the black people wanted to be our slaves. That's the thing, too. I forgot to bring that up.
Oh, it's just the fact that, like, slavery really condones all of the worst things in history. And then, like, people are like, I'm a Christian, but not like that. I'm like, what do you mean not like that? You're on the same team. You chose to be on this team. If you don't want to be on this team, then you have to leave the religion. You have to say that. You can't just say, well, I'm not like them, because literally you are. You literally are. I don't care which version you are. Y'all are all on it together, and you are responsible for stopping them if they are the blasphemers in your eyes. And you need to get them out of politics, because they're ruining the world for the rest of us.
And that's why they bring up the cherry-picked Bible, white Christian edition. That's why I always ask them about shellfish, too. Like, it's funny how you guys will protest gay marriage, but I never see you guys protesting outside of a Red Lobster. Funny how that works out, huh?
Did you see the congressman who he was like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna quote everything the Bible says about gay people. Ready? Thank you.
Meanwhile, there's 2 quotes in there about eating shellfish, because I always point out to Christians, like, God didn't really have much towards gays. He was all like, yeah, I don't want to see 2 dudes in bed. That's about all he's really said. But shellfish, on the other hand, let me tell you about that, because he brought that up twice, and he went into in-depth discussion about how much he thinks that you are an abomination if you eat shellfish. And he said it twice, and yet you never hear any Christians telling anybody that eats a shrimp cocktail that they're going to hell. Notice that never once has ever been uttered.
No, so actually what I think, when he said, well, first of all, this is the version of the Bible that had been translated and rewritten and translated from multiple languages in and out throughout history by multiple people with different agendas.
By people who were there.
And
apparently. God created the world, no one's there, but there was one person there to write it down.
And then the closest we can get to it is, a man shall not lie with another man as one lies with a woman. So, like, just don't face forward. Just both face the same direction. And now it's different.
Problem solved.
Look it up, y'all. It's fine.
Also, he never says anything about 2 girls. Notice that?
No, he doesn't.
And I think I figured out that why. It's because God was really into girl-on-girl action. And the Christians need to come to terms with that. They need to come to the terms of the fact that God loves lesbians.
Well, except for another Texas priest came and said that lesbians should be shot. So there's been 3 of them in the last 2 weeks are like, yeah, let's line them up. Like, how are we allowing them to say these things? Like, I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in freedom of consequence. And if you're going to say some stuff that's going to result in, I don't know, an insurrection or people being murdered in the name of your ideology, then you have liability.
Okay, hold on.
Like, if you're promoting violence against somebody, there should be some...
and violence happens.
Yeah.
And the violence happens as a result.
There should be some clapback. Like, there should be... there needs to be something... There should be some consequences for... inciting that. You're about to say something? Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, the church does this crap all the time. They're doing it constantly. It's not just that one. There's another one.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah. I mean, like, one of them was like, the guy's like, oh, if you're a Democrat, get out of the church. You can't be a Democrat and Christian. Meanwhile, the Democrats say the same thing. You can't be a Republican and be like, y'all, stop it. Just, you're not supposed to be in politics. Yeah, it says in the Bible, if you are, you're a whore and a sinner. You have no business in politics. So shut up.
Yeah, but enough about Lloyd and Borbert, all right? I'm not based on that either. No, but the pastor you're talking about was Tennessee. I keep forgetting his name, but he's one of my favorite ones. I know a lot of evangelical pastors, sadly, for an atheist, but they're all very amusing. But this guy,
atheists know more about these guys.
Particularly this guy. He's from Tennessee. Now, this guy has a long history. This dude's now. Is that his name?
Oh, I'm thinking the wrestler.
No.
Okay.
No, but you should look him up. He's interesting. He's not allowed inside of a Dunkin' Donuts anymore because he tried to beat up a 16-year-old Dunkin' Donuts employee over mandates, and he went to his truck and cried about it. So that's the kind of guy he is. He's also the person who was in part of that, who started that infamous book burning in Tennessee, because you love Christians. They love their book burnings because Harry Potter apparently is Satan. And that book burning was even more important because it gave us that wonderful video of the gay guy who decided to go in there and participate in the book burning, throw a book in there, and everybody applauded him. He's like, that's right. I threw the Bible in there. Hail Satan, I'm out of here. And he took off. And that was dangerous. That man is my power animal. I want to buy him a drink. He walked into the lion's den. Think about it. These are crazy.
That's a real hero. Right?
These are crazy Christians burning books. So they're capable of any crazy crap. And he walked right in there, threw the Bible in there.
Oh, yeah. So that's
by the way, he
Fahrenheit 451. So now it's Fahrenheit 451, Handmaid's Tale, 1984. What other science? Altered Carbon. We're en route to Altered Carbon.
Equilibrium, the one with Christian Bale where he has the gun kata. Or he uses
Gun is so cool, but I don't think we're there because
almost.
I mean, medicinally, they're kind of working on placebo. A placating effect, but I don't think we're there.
I remember when we were scared we were going to be Idiocracy, and now I'm like, that's actually sounding like a better idea than what we're headed at.
President Camacho sounds pretty cool right about now.
Yeah, I would. I'd vote right now.
The one problem that people overlook in Idiocracy is like how classist it is. You know, like it assumes that poor people are dumb. But I just watched this thing. Oh, man, I'm going to pull it up. I watched this video on economic theory yesterday. And in the 70s, they created this computer that would show possible outcomes for, like when the country might degrade. And the number, all of 2040 is 20
last year.
2040 is the one that they show, the year that comes most often, but we're on track with a lot of it only early. So it's actually pretty bad. Yeah,
go America!
We are beating this. And
American exceptionalism in the worst kind of way.
Honestly, the only thing we're exceptional at is propaganda and marketing.
If we're going to go down the tubes, we're going to go down first.
Oh, MIT predicted that society will collapse in 2040. So you can look up YouTube for that. And I can't tell you, it goes over a bunch of the models, but MIT, they created, a computer and and it shows the graphs of like production, food production, population. And this was before we realized how bad climate change was. So we might have till 2030, but looking at food production right now versus population,
it's gonna be Mad Max out there pretty soon.
Yeah. And especially if we're looking at rich people who are preparing for their own recession, because
maybe Waterworld too, because we're running through our water.
This is the time in the show where I mentioned that I am, as a former, I'm a disabled Navy veteran, and that I am trying to get back out on the water into the world. I'm not particularly rich, so one, if you could please support the show, that'd be great. I'm looking for a sponsor. If you don't want to get your information on the air, definitely get in touch with me, Rachel Bloomstrom. But also, if you know anybody who would like to donate a catamaran, like a 40 to 45 foot catamaran, like a self-sustaining one, that would be great for me, especially if you're listening from another country, because keep in mind, I'm about to be one of those people that the Republicans are going to want to go against, since I'm very openly and publicly against a lot of these policies and have been, plus speaking out against against the male supremacy movement and everything. So yeah, I can still do the show from anywhere in the world. I just want to get on the water. It'll be safer. It'll be me, my dog, and cat. Maybe Zach. I don't know. He's got a job, so maybe, I don't know. But yeah, then I'll come to your local communities, and like I thought I could like meet local communities and help build projects and stuff. Or I don't know if people need to get safely somewhere. I'll have that boat to do that as well.
I just love how you say it. You know, you have an extra camera, as if someone's like, "Hey, I just happen to have an extra camera right here." And have all this space.
I mean, and there really are. So that's the thing. The further south you go along the coast, the more abandoned boats there are, and sitting there without having anybody on them working. Like you can find them up to 80% off if you get down to South America.
I also want to say, if anyone has just an extra Lincoln Continental with suicide doors lying around,
this would be my home, though. See, I'm not gonna have a car. I want to live in the car. This will be everything for me. So it'll just be mobile because that's me. I know. And also, I'm a disabled vet. I'm sure we can find a way to make it nonprofit, and you can write it off in taxes. So just keep that in mind.
And plus, he's probably going to have to, book up with you on that boat because he's in Florida and
I'm close to the water. Like
I mean,
especially when the hurricanes are coming.
Well, when climate change picks up, Florida is going to be the first one that goes bye-bye. So you're definitely going to.
Washington. Ooh, we should do like a square unit. Like which land masses will go first? Is it going to be Washington? Is it going to be Oregon? Is it going to be Florida?
No, they said it's definitely
just to crap on Ben Shapiro one more time. Like he says, like if the water starts selling, people will just sell their houses and move somewhere else. Like who's going to buy the houses, Ben? Who's going to buy Aquaman?
By the way, shitting on Ben Shapiro, that's just something between him and his wife. So thanks for bringing that up.
Well, all right. Well, we got to wrap the show up. Jeff, you got anything going on coming up?
No, not really.
No,
sadly. Well, actually, I think I'm definitely gonna be on vacation most of next week. So I'm like, with all this stuff coming up, and
maybe you'll never come back.
The 2040s. I'm thinking world's gonna end. There's a lot of joke material I'm gonna write with that one. I'm thinking about just going back to some open mics, and we need to really start getting this going. So yeah, definitely. I would like to have more jokes, but I'm more political than I am a comedian. I'm political, but I can make jokes about it.
Oh man, do you remember when I first got here in 2014, right after Mike Brown happened in Ferguson, and my very first show that I tried to do, I went to I was at Second City open mic, and like I got lost a little way. Like started out, people are laughing, I'm talking, and then I started talking about Ferguson, and then I just went off on it, and I was like, and like by the end, everyone's like a little nervous, and this one guy afterwards, Lawrence B. Bortles, I don't know. He talked me aside. He's like, look, I love the passion. I love it so much. Thank you. Like, appreciate the support and everything. But like, you're going to have to tame it down a little bit. I was like, it was my first time. I'm sorry. It was a little, I basically just was raging against the machine by the end of my 5-minute set. It was, yeah. So that's when I was like, I'm going to have a tough time balancing comedy with politics, but we'll see. Zach, you got anything coming up?
No, I'm just going to be dog sitting. Go check out our recent show we did on Father's Day for Father's Day special, where we ranked fictional dads on Cousins Critiquing Content. It's out now.
Yeah, that Zach and I have a podcast called, or YouTube channel. We haven't really moved it into the podcast area like the original plan was, but it's Cousins Critiquing Content. And I'll always include links from here to that, though I've really got to update my channel. It's a lot of work, y'all. It really is. Please donate. Even $2 a month will make a big difference. Yeah, so definitely check that out. We will be releasing some more evidence episodes.
What kind of show? Evidence?
Evidence on why 7 is the worst.
Well, we did. So what we did, we ranked dads, and we mostly stuck to like anime and comics. And our number one, we had 2 best dads who were ranked So it went from a -10 to a +10 scale. Our number one was Kyros. Do you watch One Piece? If anybody watches One Piece?
No.
Okay, well, he's the one-legged dad from Dressrosa. And then my other 10 was Igmeal, the Fire Dragon King, who raised Natsu Dragmeal from Fairy Tale. And I insisted that he be a 10 because he didn't have to raise a human. Some dragons ate humans.
And the worst one was Pawpaw from Stranger Things. 11's Pawpaw and Judge.
And Judge.
From One Piece. I think we ranked Pawpaw pretty badly, but I think Judge is just as worse because he is also a leader of a country and a warmonger. And
totally. Yeah, and I think Pawpaw is I think we'll find out more about how he's doing war stuff behind the scenes as well. Like he's raising those kids as war machines. That was the whole project, right? For the because originally it was being modified from Montauk for Stranger Things. And real quick, anybody else think it's complete BS that they didn't release the whole thing at once? You made us wait 2 more months before we can cancel Netflix. Screw you, Netflix.
Apparently, they weren't finished filming it. That's what I hear. They weren't finished filming it, so they waited till the last minute to get the last season.
Plus, they also said it was going to be 5 seasons, but I think they kind of.
I think there's one more season coming out after this.
They said it was going to be 5 seasons. No, this is like a couple of years ago. They said because when they got renewed, they say, "Oh, we're going to do 5 seasons." We have it set up that way. And then I guess with COVID, they kind of messed up their schedule, so I think that's why they shortened things and they cut a few things out. But
these episodes have been long. They've been 90 minutes.
It's a great season. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm right now. I'm rewatching it. I'm currently back on season 3. I haven't watched 4 yet because I was watching a bunch of other stuff, and then I realized Umbrella Academy came out. I'm like, you bastards!
Now we gotta do that.
And then there's The Boys. I'm like, you bastards! And then Kenobi. I'm like,
I've got too much to say about these things, but we gotta call the show. Okay, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Today I'm gonna leave you with Christy Bennett. She's a local singer and musician. She plays at a lot of places. She used to do Monday nights. I'm pretty sure she still does at Rogers Park Social in Rogers Park. She plays with a jazz band. Such a beautiful voice. This is her Fume Gypsy project, Fleur de Nuit.
Au jardin de son une fleur de nuit sous la pluie s'épanouit et comme un lointain prélude dont des parfums me poursuivent.